Welcome back to the Anchored with Purpose podcast. I am so excited for you to get to hear my new friend, Gina. Every time Gina and I talk, my gosh, we could just go on for hours. We have so much in common. So if you listen to this podcast, you're going to love her podcast. Gina is the host of Pruning to Prosper, and she talks all things home organization. Now, listen, before you tune me out, she not just will help you organize your home, make it feel more peaceful, but she's also going to help you clear away the clutter in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. She just has a beautiful way of connecting faith along with home. I can't wait for you to hear how she connects the Rosary with decluttering. I never would have thought of it, but let me tell you, I love this concept. So let's dive in so you can hear from Gina. Feeling lost, overwhelmed, like you're just barely holding it all together? Have you lost sight of who you are and what truly matters? Juggling a million things, wearing all of the hats, and feeling your identity slipping through your fingers? You're in the right place, friend. Welcome to the Anchored with Purpose podcast, where faith meets family and dreams become reality. I'm your host, Melissa Wilkinson, a Catholic, wife, mom of two, and keynote speaker on a mission to help you reignite your faith, find peace in the midst of chaos, and boldly pursue the dreams that God has placed on your heart. Each week, we'll dive into practical tips, inspiring stories, and faith-based strategies to help you build a daily faith practice, pursue your biggest dreams, and live a life filled with purpose and joy. So, if you're ready to strengthen your faith, nurture your family, and achieve your biggest dreams, you're right where you belong. Pop in your AirPods, grab your coffee, and let's get anchored with purpose together. Well, hey there, Gina. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Melissa. This is going to be fun. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And we have found anytime that you and I get together to chat, we just can't stop. So this is going to be a fun conversation for us.
Yeah, I'm excited. So talk about all things decluttering.
All things decluttering. So let's have you start by sharing a little bit about yourself and the heart behind Pruning to Prosper. What led you into this work?
So I have always loved to organize and declutter. My favorite toy as a child was my dollhouse, and I would just take the furniture out and I would put it back in different ways and repurpose rooms. And I just loved helping my friends declutter. And when my youngest one was going off to kindergarten, my friends would say, "Oh, can I pay you?" And I'd say, "No, I just love to do this." But once she was going off to kindergarten, I thought, you know what, maybe I could make a go of this. So I started doing in-person decluttering locally, but I was finding more and more that I could make women's homes beautiful, but there was still something missing. And as you know, the answer is always, say it with me, folks, Jesus. So I was
Every
like,
time.
it is. It's like it's so easy as an outsider to be like, she just needs Jesus, you know? When I felt called, the Holy Spirit was calling me to do a podcast. Our mutual friend, Bill, he was like, "I think you should make it Catholic." And the enemy was like, "You don't know enough about Catholicism to do a Catholic podcast. You're totally out of your realm." And I was like, okay, maybe I'll just make it Christian, and just Jesus loves everybody and we're going to declutter with him. But the more I prayed about it, the more I was like, no, there is a difference. Like, I'm going all in on Catholic. And so the base of my group coaching is the Rosary. Like, we start our day with the Rosary. And so the podcast came about because it was just an extension of the decluttering. And now I do virtual decluttering with people. We can do one-on-one. But the podcast really, it's all about decluttering, not just the physical stuff in our homes, but like all the garbage in our lives, financial, head stuff, whatever's going on, to be able to hear the voice of God more clearly. Like, I feel like the world is so loud and that God's voice just gets pushed farther and farther back. So that's really my dream, is that women have homes that practically run themselves so that they are free to do what God is calling them to do.
That's so good. I mean, Gina, that's so needed too, because there's so many women. And as I talk to women, a lot of them just have no idea where to start, right? First of all, they don't know that it's Jesus missing from their lives a lot of the times, but they look around in this clutter. And we talked about it in my small group the other night too, where a woman said, "I know that I need to to declutter and that will help my headspace. And that's so true. That once your home is clean, that it does allow you to focus on your purpose.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean we should pause hearing like, I love your dream workshop idea. Like, it doesn't mean that we need to wait for a perfect home to start dreaming.
Right.
But I think like practically it helps a lot of women. Like, even if it's just one room in your house that is your sanctuary that you can go and do your journaling and do your rosary and just kind of center your day. Like, I think like we give God the first fruits of our labor, and that's the first
Yeah.
fruits of our day too. Like, we start with the rosary.
Yes.
I'm a huge rosary. If I had one message to scream from the top of the world, it would be like, pray the rosary, pray the rosary. I love it. And I think I don't have a great habit of writing in a journal, but I did buy your journal, and I'm excited to start using it. I think after Lent, I feel like I've taken on a lot this Lent, and I think like I'm going to start
Yes.
using it um, after Lent, but I'm excited to get started because I think a lot of women love to journal. So I'll say to them, like, whatever your first hour of the day is, like, I'm not going to be a stickler that it has to be the rosary, but just
Yeah.
the practice of like spending that first minute with God and asking him how he wants to direct our day, and not like, these are my plans, and if you want to come along, you can come along. It's like, no, let's let him. And I think when your home is running efficiently, you are free to say yes. It's like because your schedule isn't going to be so cluttered, and your finances aren't going to be so cluttered, that you can say yes. Like, there's a very practical things to being able to say yes to God. So that's kind of where I come in, is helping them clear all that out.
It's so good. It's so good. And Gina, I have to tell you that you inspired me with the rosary. I've been picking mine up. I told you, I was like, I'm starting with once a week. This is where I'm at because I do spend that first hour of the day. So I've got to figure out how I can incorporate it more than just once a week, but at least I've got that time. But you really inspired me too when you had shared the novena that you and a friend had just done. So I feel like maybe I need to start there. It's scary to me because that's a big commitment, but you definitely have inspired me for that.
Well, I think that the rosary is so good because you're going over the gospels, every mystery, and I just posted something on my Facebook page today about the Annunciation, because I'm a little late to the game. Wednesday was the Feast of the Annunciation, but it said something like, sometimes doing God's will means that it's not a convenient time, nor is it
Oh,
socially
that's
acceptable,
so good.
but do it anyway, is what I wrote. And I
Yeah.
think like the same could be said for clutter. Like, I know you don't feel like decluttering. I know you're not motivated. Do it anyway, And I think that there's anything people can toss at me that they're going through, I'm like, there's a mystery for that.
Yes.
And the more you pray the rosary, the more you start to see, like, there's so much happening in every single mystery. Like, I even love the visitation, because I do a visitation retreat sometimes where it's like, can you open the door to a friend, or are you too embarrassed of your house? Like, there's
Oh,
so
that's
much
so good.
in each mystery. Like, and
Yes.
that's my goal too. Like, I feel like the devil doesn't have to do much to keep us not feeling like the women God has called us to be, because he's going to be like, you don't have the right furniture. You don't have the right tablescape. Your house is a mess. Like, don't invite those women over for a prayer group because your house is a mess, or you don't have all the right thing. And it's like, no, let's just, use what you have and invite your friends in. I mean, like, if every woman had a group of prayer warriors as a close group
Yes.
of friends, I mean, we would be unstoppable. Absolutely
For
unstoppable.
sure.
But, that's the devil. He's like, are you sure your house is good enough? Are you sure you
Right.
know enough? You know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Anyway.
you bring up a great point, Gina. You and I have talked about this in the past, like how we both use our homes for God's work, right? Like our homes are a blessing that we use to do work for the Lord. And if you can get your home to not where it doesn't have to be about embarrassment, but where you feel like, oh, I would love to welcome people in. If you can do that, you're opening up a whole world of opportunity for the Lord to do work there.
It's true. And, that was going back to the original 12 disciples. Like, it was small groups. It was real
Yes.
life. It was messy, like,
Yep.
God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. So, and I think like,
100%.
I love your mission and how you listen to the Holy Spirit. You teach women to dream big and listen to that Holy Spirit. And like, I think sometimes we get intimidated, like, am I really qualified for this? And it's like, yes, because if God placed it on your heart, he will lead you to the next thing that will qualify you. Like, just trust in the process, and like, I think the greatest thing is when we get to the end and we get to see the whole tapestry of our life. And it's like, that's why I went through that horrible season. Like, that's why, like, it's just, I think like if you just place all your trust in God's will, like you're in for the adventure of a lifetime. Like, you don't need any, like,
Oh my gosh, for sure.
you don't need wine at the end of the day if you just trust in God's plan. My life is so exciting. And your life is
Oh
just
my
an
gosh.
amazing story of like how God has just led you to the next thing, the next thing. I love it. So fun.
Thank you. It's all him, right? Like it's all
Mhm.
God. And it's just we just have to be obedient, right? We just have to be open to what he's calling us to do, and then we just have to be obedient. And Gina, what happens when you're not obedient is he just starts like not just closing doors, but he starts making you walk into brick walls too to make sure you see like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, no, you're not going in the right direction, friend. And he's really good at course correcting us too.
Yes,
Now,
totally. I think, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask because you talk about like how sometimes that clutter in our home, you talked about how the enemy tries to block so many things for us, right? Based on what's in our home. And so I know that so many of my friends listening to this are feeling overwhelmed by clutter, by the state of their homes. So why do you think that our physical environment is impacting our mental and spiritual peace so deeply?
So I think, I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that. But if we go all the way back to Genesis, what was the very first thing that God does? He brings order to the universe. Before he created Adam and Eve, he brought
Mhm.
order to the universe. He separated day from night, sky from land, ocean from sky. Like, he organized things. If you look at down to the cellular structure, like if you can remember like fifth, sixth grade biology, looking at the plant cells, like they're so perfect and it's like perfectly boxed. I mean, it's like the Container Store, like on steroids, it's just, so I really do believe we are created for order and, what is pleasing to the eye. And I think that the reason so many of us find God in nature is because God is like, there's so much beauty and order in nature. And, so many times that's what we're trying to recreate in our own homes is like a sense of like order and peace. And it's not that you can't have God without having order in your home, but I really do feel that we are just wired for things to be like calm so that we can get things done. And it's very practical. It's all tied together. If you want to eat healthily, it's so much easier if you have clear counter spaces, if you know what's in the pantry, if you know what's in your refrigerator, so like when that's all cluttered, it's very hard to eat well and take care of our body, which is a temple of the Holy Spirit. So that's
Right.
one of the things that we're in charge of is that, we're in charge of our finances. If your purse is a mess, your finances are probably a mess. If you like you've seen those women at the checkout that is like their whole purse is like receipts are shoved in there and like the money's all over. It's like there's money in the cup holders. There's money here. Like that's a sign that like you probably don't have your finances in order. Like I think it's all linked.
Oh my gosh. Well, Gina, you blew my mind because I wasn't expecting you to take it back to Genesis, and it makes so much sense now. I really love that. I mean, when you think about it, yes, he brought order. And when you had
Mhm.
asked that question, what did he do first? I was like, he created the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was the first thing I thought of. But you're right. He created order first. But then what I think is so beautiful, and this is something that you help women with as well, once he created that order and he created the garden, he made it beautiful, right? Like he made it a place where his people, Adam and Eve, could be in communion with him, right? Like he made it a place where they wanted to be. And I feel like when we get that clutter under control, then we can have that peace and our homes become a place where we really want to be.
I agree. And I know even for me personally, when my house is running smoothly, you can tell because I'll have fresh flowers. Like that to
Oh, I
me is
love
like
that.
it's like the finishing touch. It's like, okay, I've cleaned up this space. I've like the kitchen, the counters are wiped down. And then I'll go to the grocery store and I'll be like, oh, like I have, you can't see it. I have my Blessed Mother statue here, but I always have fresh flowers for her. So then that's
I
like a
love
joy to me.
that.
I'll go to the grocery store and I'll say like, oh, what does Mama Mary want this week? Do we want roses? Right now she has daffodils,
I
but
love
like,
that.
yeah. And like, I love coming in. This is my office slash like where I pray in the morning. And I love coming in here and I'm like, good morning, Mama Mary. Like, how are your flowers? Are they watered? Are we good? You know? So
Oh my
I don't
gosh,
know.
that's
I
perfect.
think nature is very much a part of my spiritual life. And, it's where I really find God. Like I love to hike. I love to be outside and all those things.
Oh, for sure. I definitely get that. Like, same thing. We've talked so much about how much we have in common. Where like this is my office, and then also like behind my laptop, that's where my prayer chair is. That's where I spend that time. But I'm telling you, Gina, the second it warms up around here, I'm outside on the front porch because I just love to have the birds and the trees and be able to smell the flowers. Like it's a full experience, right? All five senses because I'm tasting my coffee as well.
Yeah.
But I think that's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
Now,
And if
what oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's nothing better than a rosary walk, like going for a walk, and just like, that's when I really need to think. I'll do a full 4 decades of the rosary, I'll do all the mysteries,
Yep.
from the joyful all the way through the glorious. And it takes about an hour, but I'll go for a walk. And I'll tell
Wow.
you, God is my CEO. He's my content creator. And I went for a walk last May and specifically with the prayer on my heart of like, God, I would love to have the summer off, but I have a podcast and like people expect one episode a week, if not two. And I'm like, God, if you could just give me like all the content for the summer so that I can like batch record and just enjoy my kids, that would be great. So I went for a walk. I prayed the four rosaries. The last decade of the last rosary, God was like, why don't you do a Declutter with me rosary series? So I was like, oh my goodness,
Oh,
genius. So that's like, if you scroll back in my podcast, that was last summer, was 12 episodes of me literally walking you through the rosary with, okay, first mystery is the Annunciation. And I would say like, we're going to work. So my process is we always start with the trash, then we move into tidying, and then we move into decluttering. So I would do one line of what would be a Hail Mary with, okay, now we're going to get our trash, like look around the room for trash. And then the next one would be a Hail Mary. Then I was like, and it was 12 episodes I recorded in like 3-4 days because I was just like on
wow.
fire. And I still have women that are emailing and like, I found your I found your rosary series with the Declutter with me and I love it. And like, it's a great way if people don't know how to pray the rosary, it like kind of teaches you how to pray the rosary. But my goal, my passion is like making the rosary come alive. How is it relevant to you?
Yes.
Like, we're not just reciting the prayers. It's like, what is God saying to me? How can I use this in my own life? And every day is different. Every day you're a
Yeah.
different person than you were yesterday. So that same Bible passage is going to hit you differently, because, maybe something happened last night that has never happened. And you're like, oh my gosh, my world has been rocked. And then you pray the rosary and you're just
Sure.
like, okay, Mary was just as frustrated with Jesus when she couldn't find him. He was
Yes.
far from her.
Right.
And so many times, I have friends, or my mom has a lot of friends that they raise their kids Catholic and they've fallen away. And I'm just like, that's how the Blessed Mother
Yep.
felt. Like, they say,
Mhm.
theological scholars say that the loss of Jesus in the temple, which is funny because there's the sorrowful rosary, which is slightly different than the
Mhm.
regular rosary. In the regular rosary, it's a joyful mystery because it's called the finding of the child Jesus. But in the sorrowful rosary, it's the loss of the child Jesus in the temple. And they say that that's her hardest sorrow was because it was the first time she was separated from God. And like,
Oh,
how sad is it when we have kids that have strayed from the faith or they've strayed from the family, like even middle schoolers, like we're struggling really hard right now with our middle, like, it's like, where are you going? Where's like, come back to
I
us,
know.
like, it's just, there's every season of life, pray the rosary. That's
It's so good. Well, you continue to inspire me with this, and I love it. And I think this is one of those things where we've talked how God shapes us, right, with our different life experiences. And I feel like you have found a way to bring together your passion and love for organizing and your passion and love for the rosary and explaining it in a way that really nobody else can. Who else is explaining the rosary and teaching you how to declutter your home at the same time? It's just such a special way that you teach us. I appreciate that.
Well, it's Holy Spirit. I'm telling you, it was not my idea. It was totally God. I'm like, great. What are we doing this year? Like I don't know if that's how you run your business too, but it's like, what are we doing today? God, like, and
Yeah.
sometimes the content doesn't hit in an earthly reward kind of a way. Like, it's not like, oh, that Rosary series has done phenomenally for me, but it's done well enough. And I love hearing from the listeners, like, even if it helps one woman, I'm like, okay, God, we got one,
Yes. Yeah. And I think that it just goes back to surrender too, right? Like
Oh,
when we are surrendering our lives and our businesses to God and just saying, show me what you want me to do. And that's one of my favorite prayers that I pray is shine your light on my next right step because I don't need to see the whole tapestry yet. You and I just
mhm.
talked about this, how we might be scared to see the whole tapestry, but I just like enough light for the step that I'm on. Like, just show me the next right step. And I think what you're talking about right there, what a beautiful way to take that prayer walk, that rosary walk, and just say, all right, God, this is your business. Just show me how you want me to help women, and I'll do it. And He gave it to you when you were faithful on the last decade of the last rosary you prayed. I love that.
Yes, it's
Now,
fun. It's
I
fun.
love your podcast. Like, I have to tell you, I love your podcast. I love how practical it is. I love how real you are in the podcast and how inspiring you are too. I mean, you're not making women feel guilty like that her home is mess, right? Like you're making her feel like, "Hey girl, it's cool. We're just going to tidy up and I'm going to help you do it." So, talk to us like how you talk on the podcast. Share, like, if a woman is like struggling with clutter in her home, where does she start? What room and what's the first step?
So we want to start easy, right? You don't want to jump into your wedding dress, that sort of thing, right? So I always say start with the trash. And it sounds like, I don't know, it might sound like, well, I don't have trash in my house. We all have trash. Like, I'm looking right now at a
Yep.
plant that has a whole dead stem. That's trash. So people think like, well, I'm going to wait till I'm motivated, but you're never going to be motivated.
Not
So
gonna
we got
be.
to just get the body, we got to get the body moving, right? Like, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm not motivated to declutter. I'm not motivated to exercise. I'm not motivated to eat well. None of the things are like, ooh, let's do this. It's exciting. But once you get your body going, it kind of like, did you ever just say like, I'm just going to tidy up this drawer? And the next thing you
Yep.
know, it's like 5 hours later and you're like, oh, I did like
And
half
my
the
whole
garage.
butler's pantry has been torn apart. Yes. Been there, done
Yep.
that all the
Because
time.
it's like you just had to get the body moving. So the first step
Yes.
is we just want to get the body moving. So start with whatever room you're in and just start with the trash. If it's the kitchen, physically take out the trash, take out the recycling, throw away the junk mail, throw away the receipts, throw away the takeout containers. Just start throwing stuff away. Okay. And just get the trash out. If it's dead plant leaves, great. If maybe in the night you dropped a dirty tissue on the floor, pick up the tissue. Like, I can't tell you how many times there'll be like a hair tie on the floor and I'll literally walk over it 10 times in the day. And then on the time, I'm like, girl, pick it up, put it where it goes, So after the trash, then we tidy. Okay. So tidying means that something has a home and I always say a 2-year-old should be able to roughly know where things go in your house. Like, if I went to a house that had a toddler and I said, where does mommy keep the markers you're not allowed to play with? They would know. They would say, oh, she keeps them up in that cabinet. Okay. So if we find one of those
Right.
markers, that's where it goes. So that's what tidying is. Tidying is all the children's books go here, the diapers go here, or, the dishes go back into the kitchen. So it's just kind of like, and we're never going to be done tidying. Okay. It's literally like you walk into the living room in the morning and it's like, okay, let me fix the pillows. Let me put the throw blanket where it belongs. That's tidying. Always going to have to do that. So then you do that again. So we've done trash. We've done tidying. There's nothing emotional yet. There's nothing really that your brain has to do any thinking because it's all kind of already set. The third step is to declutter. And that's when you look around and you say, well, where is this gonna go? what is this book? What is this tchotchke? What is this school pictures? Like there's just clutter all around us. And that's when you have to take a little bit more time and say, do I love this enough to give it a home? And therefore I'm going to keep it. Or do I not love it enough to give it a home? If I
Oh, I
love it
love
enough,
that question.
yeah, like, do I
Oh,
love it
it's so
enough
good.
to give it a home? And is there space for this thing in that home? So one of my kind of guidelines is we don't shove things in drawers. We don't have things falling out of cabinets because technically, yes, you could keep everything because you have a whole house, right? But
Right.
that's not how it's going to be a nice, easy to run home. So it has to be like a bookshelf is a good example, right? If I said I have books in my home, but they have to fit on that bookshelf, then that's it. That's my limit. So the shelf becomes the enemy, if you will. Like that's the tough love is the shelf. It's like, well, I love all these books, but this is the space I have allocated for books. So I need to declutter down to just the books I absolutely love. And that's really just wash, rinse, repeat in your whole house. And when I say, do you love it enough to keep it? Sometimes that means entire categories of like even a hobby. So maybe you used to love knitting and before you had kids, you went to craft shows and you bought really good yarn and you loved all the things. But it's like, do we have time in our calendar to enjoy that hobby? And sometimes the answer is not right now. Maybe this is something that we don't keep. And then you say, well, do I want to share this and donate all this yarn and stuff because I don't want to, maybe you need that room to be a playroom now. It can't be a sewing room. It can't be that. Okay. And you have to kind of say, I have one project I'm going to do. I'm going to do a blanket. I'm going to save enough yarn for that. And I'm going to allocate like Friday nights when I watch a movie, I'm going to do that. And that's great. So like, it doesn't have to be all or nothing and it can be temporary. Like I'm going to donate all this stuff because I know that when I am called back to a slower season of life, God's going to provide the finances for me to go back and buy the yarn, like rarely is anything so precious that you couldn't get it again if you absolutely needed it. And I think that's where like you have to pray through all of this. I always say like tie it with prayer, like offer it up. Like before you do anything, just kind of say like, all right, I'm going to offer up this 15 minutes of decluttering for fill in the blank. And then I'm going to just say some Hail Marys as I go. Because again, going back to the Rosary, the fruit of the mystery of the nativity is detachment from things of this world. And I think the more you pray and you focus on what God's calling you to do, the easier it is to get rid of stuff because you're like, if this box of baby clothes is what's standing between me and the woman that God has called me to be, well, then you got a lot of explaining to do when you get to the pearly gates. It's like, I loved you so much, God, but I just couldn't part with all those like stained onesies, Like at some point you have to say like, I'm called for something greater than this. And for this season or like, really pray about what he's calling you to do when it comes to decluttering, because there's so much more on the other side. So yeah, it's
Amen.
a
Oh
long-winded
my gosh,
answer.
it's so good. It's so good. Well, I mean, and when I think about like when you're saying offer it up, right? Like offer it up, like you're not doing this alone. It's not just you by yourself trying to do this. The Lord is with you the whole way. And so pray through it. Are you off like how are you offering it up? Well, it could be for different things, but I love that. And then I love also when you said, maybe this isn't the season of life for this hobby or this thing. What do I need to move? What do I need to take out of this space to make room for the woman God is calling me to be right now? And I feel like sometimes
Right.
as women, that can be really hard for us, but it's a necessary step so that we can truly fulfill our lives and do what God's calling us to do.
Yeah. And it's all like, and there could be clutter in your schedule. It could be that,
Yes.
you're trying to work a full-time job, but you're really struggling with your marriage or your kids. And God is like, I need you home. I need you to step
Mhm.
away from your career and go home for a little bit. But your career will be there. Like if that's what God's
Mhm.
calling you, it will be there. I think
Yeah.
that's again, going back to the enemy, like he's going to put that seed of doubt, like, ooh, really? Like the younger generation's going to come up and pass you. You're going to lose your skills. You're going to lose your edge. But God will use those years that you were home for his greater glory. Like, you just have to keep trusting every step of the way, and just, it really becomes a game. It becomes fun. It's like, okay, what are we doing today, God? Like, what can I get rid of that's going to stand between me and you? And, or if it's like a lot of times I think where we live here, it's a very sports oriented culture.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't go to church because they're at soccer,
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we got to take a hard look. Like, if your family's not where it needs to be, again, the answer is Jesus. So maybe you don't do travel. Maybe you do rec league so that you don't have games on Sundays, and I'm talking CYO stuff. There's Catholic stuff on Sundays. Like, oh my gosh.
That still boggles my mind. I don't know how they're doing that. It's crazy.
I know. And it's like, I really do think it's like, if the devil can't defeat you, he's going to distract you and he's going to keep you busy and he's going to, so we have to really fight back as a culture, like it's a battle for our kids. It's a battle for our marriages. Like, I just think if every one of us had the marriage that we were called to have, like, oh my goodness, the devil would be like cowering in the corner, but he's got his ways. So we got to fight. We got to armor up.
Yes, for sure. Okay, I wanted to ask you a question because when you talked about first trash, you remove all of the trash, right? That's easy. That's not emotional. Anything that's visibly trash, you just throw out. Tidy for the things that already have a home. That's nice and simple. No thinking, no emotion. Can we talk about now letting go of the guilt or the emotional attachment to some of their belongings, right? Like, but I got this shirt at this event and I don't want to forget it. Or I loved this outfit that, my son was in. Help us with that. Talk some sense into us, Gina.
Well, don't start with the stuff that's hard. So you're going to do a few passes, right? So the first pass of your house in decluttering, keep it light, keep it easy, keep it just, real easy decisions. And you'll build it. Literally, it is a muscle. And what you'll see is that maybe after a year of decluttering your home, you'll come back to that stuff and you'll say, like, you know what? I don't need this stained outfit to remind me that my kid was once a baby. Like, even pictures, like, I was born in the 70s. Like, every photo of my entire life fits in a shoebox. And my dad was a photographer. We don't need like all these things to remember that we had a great childhood, and your children won't either. Like, even if I ask you, I don't know anything about your parents. If I said, like, what's one thing you would want from your parents' house, what would it be?
My gosh, that's such a good question. My mom's scrapbooks, because she is a scrapbooker because her parents were minimalists before minimalism was cool. So she barely had any pictures of herself growing up. She has nothing from when she grew up, right? Like not a thing from when she was a child. Like her parents threw out her presidential physical fitness award, right? Like, I mean, they threw out everything. My mom did such a beautiful job creating scrapbooks for the family. Probably those.
Okay. So we did not rehearse this, right?
No.
You picked a very interesting item, because notice you did not say, I would want my mom's craft room with 5,000 pieces of scrapbooking, because I know how scrapbooking is. I know.
How do you know she has all of that?
Yeah. She has all the washi tape. She's got all the letters. She's got the different little embellishments, but you didn't say that that's what you wanted. You wanted the finished product.
Yes.
And I think so many times, especially with crafts, women buy this dream of, I'm going to be the type of woman that scrapbooks. I'm going to have all this stuff. I need every color of this and da, 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 da. But really, like, that's not what your kids want to inherit. They want to inherit the finished product. And it's nice that you want it, because the flip side is sometimes moms put so much time and effort into creating something like that, but the kids don't want it. So it's kind of like, you got to watch, does your kid actually want to inherit this thing? And if so, in what form or whatever. But there was a story behind it, why you wanted it, and you gave me generational history just in your story. So even if you didn't have the scrapbooks, you would still be able to say, like, well, my grandparents were this way, and then my mom was this way. And now I value what my mom went through because of this. So really, even if you didn't have the scrapbooks, you would still have all those memories of your mom and how she expressed her love to you guys through her scrapbooking. So I think sometimes we have to look at that and say, like, do we need the actual item to pass on the memory? And I think
That's a great question. Yes, I love that because we don't, right? We don't.
it's funny because so many people keep things because they think, oh, well, my kids are going to want this someday. And it's like, really? Did you ask them? Like, I don't know if they really want all that. And the sad part is how many, I don't know, I have a feeling you're younger than me, but I feel like I was one of the last to register for Good China. Did you register for Good China?
Oh, I registered for Good China. Yeah, but I have my China and my brother's China because they never used theirs.
And like people will put like grandma's China or their Good China in the basement in boxes. And they're like, well, I'm saving that for my kids. And I'm like, well, have they ever seen it? Like,
Yeah.
have they ever laid eyes on that? They're going to open a box and they're going to say, what's this? It's China
Right.
from who knows where. For all they know, you got it at a yard sale.
Right.
But if you use the good China, then maybe you'll have a chance that they'll actually want to inherit it. Like, and
Right.
it doesn't have to be every day. It could literally be Sundays for dessert. We have dessert off of the good China and that's it. Cause I know everyone's like, oh, you have to hand wash it. Okay. You can hand wash 5 or 6
I put mine
plates.
in the dishwasher.
Yes. I have
Guess what?
one.
It's fine.
It is fine. I have one good China cup that I'll use on Sundays, and I do put that one in the dishwasher, but that's the only one. And like what happens is eventually the platinum or like the gold band that comes off eventually. But I would rather have that than
Yes.
never using it. And so
For
like
sure.
I think the more your kids see the stuff that you love and you cherish, the more likely they're going to want to inherit it, hopefully someday, like
Right.
there's no guarantee, but
Right.
why let it die? Like use it, if it
Yeah.
breaks, it breaks. Who cares?
I'm right there with you. I like to use it. Like being in this home, having a dining room was very important for me. Our last home didn't have a dining room. And so I was so excited that we had a place now where we could display all of our wedding china, where we could use it. We had a dining room big enough for our family. I love to host when it's our turn, when we're here in New York for holidays. Like I love to host Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I love like having my brother's china on top of mine allows me now enough china for everybody and enough crystal for everybody.
Yeah.
And so I love being able to do that. Like, and we all help, wash it and whatever we can, we just put in the dishwasher because it's not all that often. But and my kids, this is what's funny, Gina. Jeff, my husband, has an aunt who never had kids. And when each of them turned 1, she gave them a set of china from Tiffany's for their birthday. Okay. You can tell somebody who's never had kids, right? That it's not really a super practical gift, but it's beautiful. So every time we break out the family china, we let them use this and they love it. They think it is so much fun that they get to use their own personal china set. And it's like, me, everything is like nautical and anchors and their china has all of that on it, but it's special to them because they only get to use it on certain occasions, but they love when they get to use it.
That is so funny. You said that. I swear, we are like meant to be friends.
I think so too.
I had the first grandchild on both sides. And so
Same.
my sister,
Oh, not both sides. Yeah.
my sister got my son a set of Tiffany china for the baby shower. And it's frog and toad is his pattern that he has.
Oh.
It's so cute. And we didn't know if he was a boy I did know. I did know he was a boy, but it's a neutral pattern. And so then subsequently, every child has what we call their special china. And I think 2 or 3 of them, 3 of the 4 are from Tiffany's. And my kids used it from their rice cereal. Like I would I put it on their tray, on their high chair. They ate out of Tiffany china and people thought I was nuts. And I was like, why have this if they're not going to enjoy it? And I will tell you, in 4 kids, all this pieces of the Tiffany china, one thing has been broken and it was me that dropped it.
See, isn't that? And that happened. Like I had college roommates in town and I was like, be very careful with my crystal wine glasses, right? Like I'm going to get like glass ones at some point. I was the one who broke the wine glass, right? Like it was me.
Sometimes I think it's God just like knocking it out of your hands. It's like your guardian angel, like, get off your high horse.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's like, who cares? Like, it's just stuff, but like, to me, I feel like if you're not using your good stuff on these people that you prayed for, then who are you saving it for? Like, I backpacked through, I'm going to cry just telling the story. I backpacked through Europe after college. That's a whole other crazy story. I won the money at the casinos.
Whoa.
So I backpacked through Europe by myself for a month. And in every church, it's like Euro church tour, right? Every church, I made my 3 wishes. And of course, I was always wishing for to find a husband and for kids and blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 25 years, we took our kids to Europe in 2023. And it was for another month-long trip to Europe. And
Wow.
I was sitting in St. Nicholas in Ljubljana, Slovenia. And my husband was sick. So he didn't come to the mass with us. I didn't understand a word of the mass. You think you know the Catholic mass until you don't understand a word of it. And you're like, I think we stand up at this. I have no idea. But anyway, after communion, I came back and I was praying and I just started bang. And my kids are like, Mom, what's the matter? What's the matter? And I was like, it just hit me that the last time I was praying in Europe was for all of you. And here we are.
Of that.
It's like all along, God had this plan of how
Yes.
I was going to meet my husband and these kids. And I just find it fascinating that God puts us together as a family unit. He was like, okay, Simone, you're going to the Mortons. Charlie, you're going to the Mortons. Alice, you're going to the Mortons. And I forgot I forgot somebody's name. The kid I forgot. It's fascinating how it all works together. And that's all part of using the good stuff. These are our people. This is our ministry, is our family. No matter how big and powerful we are in the outside world, this is our ministry, is our home. And, I believe one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit or the gift is hospitality. I think there's definitely women that are called to host and they just love having people over. They seem to do it they're effortless. They always have food that they're whipping out. I love to host, but I also work it way up in my brain way harder than it needs to be. I'll be like, woo, people are coming over, my husband, he'll have guys over. He does a prayer group. And I'm like, well, did you have any snacks? He's like, no, they don't need snacks. And I'm like, okay. He's like, we had bourbon. That's all they need. He's like, I bought cigars. He doesn't stop and buy chips or anything. He buys cigars. So I'm like,
That's
all right,
hilarious.
whatever.
That's hilarious. But I mean, you bring up a great point though, is whether you have that gift of hospitality or not, you can always make room for people, right? You can always serve them. I have to tell you, one of the things with my small group is, so I hosted here. We're going to actually be shifting and taking turns because we also let them bring their boys, who are all my youngest son's age. And then it's a Nerf battle throughout the whole house. It's wild, it's noisy, it's loud. And after this last time, we were like, maybe we'll all start taking turns. But the easy way to host this, I just have a tea set out. You can pick your tea. You can pick if you want to put honey or dried fruit or whatever in it. That's all set up in the dining room, self-serve. And then if I don't have any other snacks on hand, I just pop a bag of popcorn and it's the easiest snack. The kids love it. The moms love it. And it's I didn't really have to put any effort into this because the tea set was already set up and I just popped a bag of popcorn and everybody's happy.
Yeah. I'm the queen of popcorn because it feeds a crowd. I always have it on hand. I have an old-fashioned crank thing.
Oh my gosh. For on the stovetop?
Yeah.
I have one of those too, and we rarely ever use it. I feel like I need to dig it out again.
It's one of those things that gets better with use.
Does it? Okay.
I put oil and butter in there.
Okay.
And then it kind of did you ever hear of if you use a wooden salad bowl, it kind of seasons itself? Yeah, or a cast iron skillet. And I think popcorn makers do the same thing. So you got to whip it out. And
I gotta whip it. That was another gift from the aunt that has no children. And I was like, clearly she doesn't understand that this type of popcorn takes way more time to make and more cleanup. But it is fun to use.
It's an activity. It's okay, you crank.
That's a good way to look at it. It is an activity. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Gina, let me just ask you this because I feel like the women out there are wondering, what does that peaceful home look and feel like? What can she expect? What should she be looking for in that home once it's decluttered?
Well, I think the most impactful thing is that you're going to grow in your relationship with God. If you're putting your time in the morning with the rosary or prayer or the journaling, that's going to be the most impactful thing. Even if your house is a hot mess, you're going to have an inner peace that comes from walking through your day with God. And I think that you'll start to see every little thing that pops up as an opportunity to grow closer with him. You know, like they always say, like, don't pray for patience because God will give you lots of opportunities to
For
practice your
sure.
patience. So I think that's the most thing. But the more of the earthly practical things is that it's just going to be easier. Like when you go to pay your bills, things are in order and it's not like 2 weeks of paper everywhere that you're sorting through. It's like the mail comes in, and that's part of my the course that I teach is like implementing routines and systems. So that's kind of like beyond the decluttering and the organizing then you get into systems of maintaining it. So from your mail coming from the mailbox, I always say, like, it's like a game of hot potato. Like, let's try not to put it on the counter, right? Because once it
Yes.
gets on the counter, it's going to stay there. So before you put it down, look at each thing. What can immediately go in recycling? What can immediately get shredded? Then what's left? Okay. Is it a birthday card? If it's a birthday card, let's open it. Let's immediately throw out the envelope. Okay. Now you're down to just the card. Maybe you ooh and all over it for a week. It goes up on the mantle, whatever, but recycle day, it comes out, goes away. Maybe the rest is like a bill or something that requires action. So then what I do is I have a box that I don't have a desk. I have a table. So I don't have any drawers or anything. So I have like cute boxes that I got at Home Goods. And one of them is marked banking. And so I'll stick anything that needs action in there. And then every 2 weeks I sit down and I do my bills. And that's when I'll open that. And usually that's frequent enough that I'm not going to miss a bill or anything like that. But it's just allows you to have more time. Like I always say, like an organized mom can be a more spontaneous mom. You know, like how many times your kids ask you to do stuff and you're just like, oh, I can't. I have to figure out what's for dinner. Like I can't. Like I'm doing laundry. But if you have like systems and your house really is just running itself, like you are free to go to the park. You're free to like do that spontaneous bike ride. You know, you're free to one of the things I got during COVID was a new bike, and I got the bags that go on my bike so I can ride to the grocery store. And yes, it takes longer. Yes, I can't buy, bags and bags of groceries, but it's like an activity. And it's like, all right, guys, let's go for a bike ride and go to the grocery store. And it's like, these are the years, like, these are my young years. Even though I just turned 50, but I still feel like, wow, I'm still younger than 80. So if I can ride a bike, I'm going to ride a bike, And so I just think that like when your home isn't cluttered with a bunch of stuff and your calendar isn't cluttered with a bunch of stuff, you are free to say yes to all different things in life. And it could be you're free to support a charity. Like once you get your finances in order, it's like, okay, we're free to say yes to this charity and they asked for a donation. Or you're free to say yes to Catholic school if that's what you want to do for your kids. Like, I don't know. I just think that there's a lot more flexibility when you're kind of like running your home efficiently. As I always give the example on my podcast of the mom that she wants to go to the pool with her kids and she opens the trunk and you get that smell of wet towels that never left the trunk, right? Like we can all smell that. Like that, if that mom could rewind a couple days and just take a few minutes when you get home from the pool and say like, everybody take your towels to the laundry room. And like, she has her routine of laundry. Like then she's set up for success.
Yes.
You kind of start getting into systems of future you is going to be so grateful. And that's how I kind of think about my life is like, is future Gina going to be annoyed that you didn't do this? She probably will be. So go ahead and do it. I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Yes. And you know what? I'm so glad that you brought up your course and your coaching program. So I would love, just before we tell everybody where they can find you, if you could share maybe a transformation story of a woman that you've been able to help. You don't have to share her name, but just like maybe kind of what the situation was when you walked in, or if it was a person you coached virtually, maybe like what their life looks like now after they got to work with Gina.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. And I'm tempted to go whip a painting off the wall in my kitchen. So I've been doing the podcast for like 3 years. So I've done different things over the years, but I'll do like mini things like, $20 and come do this, like declutter with me your wardrobe. And so I had a woman that came to a declutter, a live wardrobe declutter, right? And she wasn't really doing any of the work. She was just kind of quiet. And I'm like, okay. And when you run groups via Zoom, there's a lot going on as the hostess.
Yes.
Like you're watching everyone's reaction. You're trying to read the chat. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. But I always try to make sure that like everyone has an equal chance to talk and that sort of thing. But she wasn't really engaging. She was picking stuff up. She was, meanwhile, the other girls are like, how does this look? Should I wear this? Should I keep this? And like, they're having a great old time. But this one woman was just really quiet. And so I was like, I'm praying inside my head, like, all right, God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Like, what should I say to this woman? And so I said to her, I go, you don't seem like you're really engaged with the decluttering, like, what's going on. She's like, I don't know. I just really don't know what I should keep. And I don't feel great. Like she had worked and she had kids and she's home with the kids, but they were in school all day. So it's like, typical mom stuff. And I said, well, what did you used to do before you had kids? Like, what's your degree or whatever? And she said, oh, I think it was like graphic design or something in the arts. And I said, you know what? So this is a story more about not decluttering, but decluttering what's between the ears, right?
Right.
And I said, your homework is, I want you to find something for you. I want you to figure out what is going to light you up, get you excited, right? Okay. Years go by. Crickets, nothing from this girl. Then she shows up. I don't know where she showed up, but she's a full-blown artist.
Whoa.
Yeah, she's a full-blown artist. I'll share her name. It's Jessica Jackson. She's on Instagram. Okay. And if you scroll back through her Instagram page, there's a picture of the two of us, and I'm holding a painting with peaches because she's from Maryland and my in-laws are from Maryland and they have the best peaches. And so I always associate Maryland with peaches. And so when I followed her on Instagram and she had this painting of peaches, I said, is that for sale? Because she wasn't really selling anything. And she's like, yeah, I guess I could sell it. And so we met in real life and it took us like another 18 months to actually meet in real life. I got to pay her for the painting. And she said to me, she goes, it's all because of you. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
And so I keep it in my kitchen as a reminder. Sometimes when you're in this line of work of just speaking into the nethers, it's like, is it anything happening? Is anyone listening? Any impact going on this side of heaven? And I just look at that painting and I think like she took lessons because I was like, go do something for you. And she's incredible. Like, and she's selling her stuff. Like, it's absolutely incredible work that she's doing.
Oh my gosh. That is incredible. And it just goes to show, like, it's also like what's up here too, right? Like, oh, I love that, Gina.
I'm trying to think of like a practical thing too. I don't know. I can't think of any, I don't know. I mean, we've done things. I've done like whole home declutters with people and then they choose a different job or they relocate, and then for the practical things, like their house sells in like a minute,
Right. Yeah.
Or like I had a homeschooling mom and she wanted to do, I forget what you call it, but it's like kind of like travel homeschool.
Oh, like a pod?
Her kids are constantly I follow her on Facebook. Like they're constantly going somewhere, it's like really interesting, but it's like, all right, let's have your home running itself so that you're free to do these day trips. I mean, we live like really like in the heart of the foundation of our country. Like we have the Liberty Bell, we have New York, we have all these really close to where we are. So it's like, let's not just learn about the Liberty Bell. Let's go see it. Let's see where it was hidden in Allentown here. It was hidden during the Civil War. I think it was the Civil War. I don't know. But it was hidden here in Allentown. So like there's great history that like your kids aren't going to just learn it in a book. They can go and do it. But because her house is like running itself and doing way better, and she was another one that was like, this house is way too small. I want to like work with you so we can list it. Well, it's probably been 5 years and they've never moved. I was like, you're not going to need to move. You're going to fall in love with this house all over again.
Wow,
like, it's a great house. I'm like, you don't want to sell this house. I'm like, you just need less stuff.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, Gina, thank you for sharing. Thank you for pouring into this community today. My gosh, if they want to follow you, how do they work with you? How can they listen to your podcast? Share all of the ways they can connect with you.
So the podcast is the main thing. It's called Pruning to Prosper. And this year for 2026, I asked God again, like, what do you want me to do? What are we doing for content? And my mom her health was kind of iffy. And so even hosting a group coaching course is a little difficult, So I was like, ooh, I usually do it in like Ash Wednesday will start. But things are so up in the air. I didn't know. So this year, in lieu of a group coaching course, I'm giving it all away on the podcast. If you go back to January, it's like, so what was a 12-week course is now going to be like an 8-month course. And so January, we started with implementing a daily rosary. February, we decluttered your kitchen. March, we worked on decluttering your wardrobe. April, we are going to be moving into like meal planning and that sort of thing. So
Oh my gosh, I love
that's
it. And
that.
I've been loving listening to I listened to the Declutter Your Kitchen. I cannot wait to do like I want to binge the wardrobe one because my wardrobe needs a good I keep bringing things in, but I have a hard I'm not getting things out fast enough, Gina. So I'm excited for that one. Well, Gina, thank you again. Thank you for taking the time and for just sharing your heart and your love for the Lord and the Rosary and teaching us some practical ways that we can just prune so that our lives can prosper. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Melissa. It's just been a delightful day with you.
I agree. I'm so grateful for you. And to all of our listeners, thank you. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Anchored with Purpose podcast. I hope you're leaving inspired, encouraged, and ready to take action on your biggest dreams. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another friend who needs some encouragement. Your support helps us reach more women just like you who are seeking to live a life anchored in faith, family, and purpose. And don't forget to join the Anchored with Purpose tribe on Facebook, where we continue the conversation and to support each other in living out our God-given dreams. Until next time, remember, you are loved, you are chosen, and you have what it takes to achieve your biggest dreams.